Good morning, Your Excellency, Ambassador Iwersen. Thank you for taking the time to speak with me today. It's an honor to speak about key topics regarding the relations between Kazakhstan and Central Asia.
Yes.
To start, I'd like to ask about the current state of relations between Kazakhstan and Germany. How do you assess the bilateral relations at this stage?
I think we can say relations are excellent, and they are resting on different pillars. We have wonderful political contacts, high-level visits. As you know, the president was here in Kazakhstan last year, the foreign minister in 2022, and now we're expecting the chancellor. So that's always a wonderful opportunity to exchange views on world affairs, on global issues that are of concern and of interest to both countries. And of course, our economic relations are growing all the time, all year round. We see a lot of new initiatives there as well. And then what I'm particularly pleased about is that our academic and university cooperation is growing significantly, and we've seen initiatives there in the past years. So universities are also very interested in working with Kazakhstan, and I know from my conversations that Kazakh universities are interested as well. Plus, we have, of course, great relations between civil society, and these contacts are equally, I think, important to say that our relations are really very close and very intensive in a very positive way.
Well, let's talk about Chancellor Olaf Scholz's upcoming visit.
Yes.
So it's a part of broader tour to Central Asia. Can we say that it signals the growing interest of Germany into this region? And what are the reasons behind it, and what goals are being pursued?
Thank you very much for the question. Yes, I think we can say that Germany has been interested in this region since the Central Asian countries became independent. For example, the decision was taken at the time to establish embassies very soon in all of the 5 Central Asian countries as newly independent states, and then also to support them with in their development. So we've been partners, I think, from the beginning of independence of these countries, and this interest has only grown over time. And yes, definitely this visit signals that this region, Central Asia, and Kazakhstan as our most important partner in this region really are growing and are developing very well. In this case, we have a bilateral visit, as you know, that's very important here in Kazakhstan, but also there will be a meeting of the C5+1, so with the Central Asian states together, and that shows also that we are very interested in regional cooperation. And that is something, if you remember, in 2007, when Germany had the EU presidency, we very much were driving a Central Asia strategy of the European Union, and I think all the way since then, this interest has been very steady in the region, our interest in this region.
And specifically about Kazakhstan visit, what can we expect from visit of Chancellor Olaf Scholz? For example, what topics and goals will be discussed during the visit?
Yes, I mentioned that our relations are very multifaceted. So I would say political talks are always important to exchange views on let's say world affairs, on geopolitical issues as well, and how we see the world and what's going on. Then also, of course, economic relations will play an important role. There will be a very high-level business delegation coming with the Chancellor. So I think those will be a topic also of discussion. Issues like climate, environment, and water issues in particular, now also between our 2 countries, are gaining in importance. And then, of course, as I mentioned, civil society aspects, I'm sure will play a role, and the cooperation on education, on, as I mentioned, academic research also is a very important one. And I would expect, without knowing exactly what what the leaders will talk about, but those would be areas that would be of interest to us, and I'm sure they will come up in the meetings.
And in terms of economic cooperation, is Germany planning to invest, to increase investments in Kazakhstan? And if so, what sector exactly are in particular interest, and what projects is going or planned?
Well, I think without wanting to reveal too much before we are having the business forum during the visit then, I think what we can say is that yes, German companies are interested in investing in Kazakhstan. They are always looking for good opportunities in Kazakhstan to invest, looking also of course at the investment climate, business climate, and quite a few have decided in the past already to invest here, and they are quite happy with their investments. What I see, what I could imagine where we could see more investments in the future from Germany in Kazakhstan is, for example, the transport and logistics sector. If we talk about the middle corridor, the Trans-Caspian International Transport Corridor, as it is called correctly, there I would say logistics companies are interested in participating and in potentially investing there. Agriculture is also an important field, and I'm talking particularly also about agricultural machinery, all the kinds of things that are needed to have agriculture grow and thrive. And then, as I mentioned, the new climate and environment topics, water saving technologies and things like that. I think companies are also looking at that. I don't know how far they are advanced with that, maybe not for this visit, but the interest is there, it's constant, and I think it depends on the two partners then finding projects that make sense and that are economically viable, and then I think they are ready to invest.
Looking at the regional context, how do you envision the future of relations between European Union and Central Asia? That's what we mentioned before.
Yes.
Could we further expand this? And you also mentioned about C5+1 format. Do you consider this format of political dialogue to be effective in fostering the cooperation?
Yes, thank you very much. I think that if we look at the last 2 or 3 years, which is the time I've been here in Kazakhstan, we've seen that relations between Kazakhstan and Central Asia have been growing and developing very positively. I can mention the Global Gateway initiative, which is now also looking at the middle corridor, at the Trans-Caspian corridor. There has been an investment conference at the beginning of the year to see where European companies can support the efforts to make this corridor fully, to use the capacities it has fully. And I think we are on a good road there, on a good path forward. And we've also seen that there's a coordination platform now for this strengthening of the middle corridor, which allows coordinated efforts to support projects. So I think that is an area where we see a lot of progress. There's also been an agreement between the European Union and Kazakhstan on raw materials, batteries, green hydrogen. So that's another thing where the EU is very invested. And as I mentioned, starting with the first Central Asia strategy in 2007, we've seen a steady development there. So I'm very confident that that will further grow and that these relations will develop wonderfully. C5+1, you mentioned, you asked about that as well. First of all, I would like to say that we are very encouraged to see that the 5 Central Asian countries among themselves are really cooperating, I would say, more than in the past. Maybe we've seen the latest consultative meeting here at the beginning of August and really looking at the topics and the issues that are important to the region, like transport and energy. The ministers met, and because I think there are other issues as well that could be very beneficial for Central Asian countries to cooperate, as for example trade, as energy was mentioned during that summit, but also climate and environment, the water issue. That's happening as well. We see bilateral talks and agreements happening. So I see, even in these last 3 years, a lot of very good initiatives for Central Asian countries, just the 5 to cooperate. And the C5+1 gives us the opportunity to see, and others of course, because there are quite a few formats Kazakhstan has, but it gives other countries, partners, the opportunity to see how can we cooperate with you and how can we support what the Central Asian countries are interested in doing and developing, how can we support this regional cooperation, because I think there are a lot of things the region the countries of the region can do together, as I mentioned. And so for me, and I think for my leaders as well, this is a very useful format to really get a good dialogue going about what does the region need. And this is also underlined, of course, by the strategic regional partnership that we agreed on last year, and where we have different working groups for economy, for people-to-people contacts, for climate environment, that enables us, even when we are not meeting in a summit, to discuss the issues with the 5 Central Asian states that are important to the region.
One topic that is often discussed in the context of regional development is One Belt, One Road initiative. Mm-hmm. How does Germany assess this project?
One Belt, One Road.
Yeah.
Well, I think we are in favor of having good transport routes, I would say. I mean, Germany is, of course, an export-oriented country, so we are doing a lot of trade with the world in general, and with this region, and also with China. And so we think that anything that would support to have flows of goods that are faster, that are maybe in terms of opportunities reliable, and also at affordable rates for transport, for freight transport, is something that we would support. And we are very interested also in participating sort of in having good transport routes and a good flow of goods. It has to be, of course, beneficial to all sides, I would say. It has to be a fair competition. There have to be opportunities for all the partners involved. And I think then it is something that is beneficial to all.
Let's talk to another topic. I would like to talk about recent speech of President Kazinform. Mm-hmm. Recently, he emphasized the importance of attracting foreign IT specialists, so-called digital nomads. How do you think is Germany considering the possibility in deepening cooperation with Kazakhstan in this area?
Yes, well, I think that Germany has the same attitude. We also need IT specialists, and we have, for example, many years ago, a few years ago, we established special regulations to allow IT specialists to come to Germany and settle and work in companies in Germany. We made it easier for them to move to Germany, because we really wanted to attract these digital nomads ourselves. So I think it is a challenge, and it is for all developed societies that are aspiring to more digitalization and to more e-based services, for example, and also government services, to find the right specialists. And it is an effort in every country, I think, to train these specialists, but also to attract them from other countries. So I think that we are in a little bit of a competition, but it's a friendly competition.
On the subject of visas, Kazakhstan has simplified visa procedures for European Union citizens, while for Kazakhstani people it's still difficult to get Schengen visas. So is Germany open to discussing the ways to simplify Schengen, like getting Schengen visas for Kazakhstani citizens?
Well, first of all, let me say that Germany is issuing visas here in Kazakhstan, in Almaty and in Astana, and together these missions have issued around about 47,000 visas last year. So it cannot be that difficult to get it. I mean, the refusal rate is, from what I know, rather low. So we are trying whatever we can to make movement between our countries as easy as possible, for students, for business people, for tourists, for everyone, for medical treatments and so on. So I don't think we are looking that bad. At the same time, we understand that as our relations are growing, we need more mobility, of course, and it would be helpful if there was a visa facilitation also in relationship with Kazakhstan. Now, being a Schengen partner, part of the Schengen area, this is not something we can decide on our own. It's always a process that all the countries need to agree to. For us, the next step would be to, because we know it's an important issue for Kazakhstan, and we understand and we want mobility to increase and to be better than it might be at the moment. The next step would be to have to task the Commission in Brussels. The member states need to task the Commission in Brussels to develop, to present a mandate for negotiations with Kazakhstan. So the member states would have to agree this is the mandate, and then the Commission would start negotiations with Kazakhstan. For example, a readmissions agreement would have to be signed in parallel with a visa facilitation agreement. At the moment, discussions are ongoing, and we hope that very soon the member states will be able to agree to task the Commission to do this, and then we could start hopefully talking about the mandate and negotiations. I'm afraid it will not be tomorrow in terms of, even if we start negotiations, it takes time, but we would be on a good path to move forward. Now, what I can say for Germany is that we are supporting visa facilitation, and that's what we're always saying also in the meetings in Brussels. We would support this. As I said, discussions are ongoing, and we hope that we are getting there.
Turning to economic matters, there has been news about Volkswagen considering the closure of some factories due to the competition from Chinese electric vehicle manufacturers. How do you assess the situation? Is it driven by economic factors, or maybe you see some political dimension as well?
Of course, Volkswagen is a world brand, a very successful company, and has been for many years in Germany. They are very popular in Germany still. And I think what we see now is certain market adjustments. We have to see, what do consumers want? Are they switching to electric mobiles? And also, of course, we have to consider economic factors there. And I think what we are seeing right now is a reaction to the development of the market. That happens from time to time, and companies usually are very well able to adjust to that. It may lead to certain changes, it may lead to certain restructuring also of production facilities. That is very much a decision for the company to take, but I'm very sure that they will come out of this strengthened and very much fit for the future, as we say. I think it's a temporary development that we see at the moment.
On the global stage, let's talk about this. The upcoming US elections could have significant geopolitical implications. How is Germany planning to adapt its strategy depending on the outcome of the elections, particularly if Kamala Harris or Donald Trump were to become the president?
Well, we have throughout our history, particularly the recent history as a democratic state as of now the last century, we have always worked very well with our American partners and US governments, no matter what political affiliation. So I'm sure it will be the case here as well.
And finally, Your Excellency, I'd like to ask about your personal experience in Kazakhstan. What are your impressions of the country? What changes have you observed in Kazakhstan and in the capital as well during your time here?
Well, let me say I love working in Kazakhstan, and I love living in Astana. I think what makes this very modern city also very livable are the constant improvements that you see in terms of making space, creating green spaces, creating infrastructure also for children to find things to do. When I arrived 3 years ago, I walked along the river and I saw that lights were being put up along so I said, okay, this is great, you can take a walk in the evening. There have been bike paths, very important for Germans that they are bike paths. So all of these things I think make the city very attractive and very modern. Many visitors we have from Germany who have never been here and do not know what has been happening here in recent decades are very impressed by the city, and so I like living here very much. I like and enjoy the opera, the ballet, and all these things are fantastic. I really have to say I enjoy it very much. And work-wise, it's been very interesting because after the tragic circumstances in 2022, we've seen many reforms taking place, and we see that things are changing, and that for us is of course an opportunity to look at possibilities. Where can we support that? Where can we cooperate on these things, and where will it lead? So I think it's an exciting time, I think also for Kazakhstan, and we are privileged to be here and follow it and try to support it as much as we can.
Before we close, is there anything that you would like to add or highlight, something that we haven't covered yet?
Well, let me say that I was very impressed by the opening of the Nomad Games just now, and it was a fantastic opening, a fantastic show, and it's great that Kazakhstan is hosting this event. I'm hearing very good things from my colleagues as well, who are attending some of the competitions, and so I think that is fantastic. And no, I would just like to say that we very much appreciate our partnership with Kazakhstan, its openness to working with everybody in the world, the multilateral approach, and the keen interest that I see in the years that I've been here in expanding the cooperation between Germany and Kazakhstan, not just between governments, also important, but also at all other levels. And the openness I see here towards Germany in particular makes me not just very happy, but I think opens many doors for further cooperation and makes my life as a German ambassador working in Kazakhstan much easier. And that's why I enjoy working here as well. So thank you for that.
Thank you very much for your time. It was a pleasure for me to discuss these important key topics regarding the relations between our two countries, and I hope I look forward to seeing the continued development of relations between Germany and Kazakhstan. Thank you, Ambassador
Thank you very
Iwersen.
much.